Are you just getting started with social media? Do you have a new product or a new business? It is important to have a social media launch strategies in mind. This video will walk you through a step-by-step plan for starting your new social media presence. Step 1. Choose your social platforms. Choose which platforms you'll use to launch your brand a few weeks before launch. It's important to determine how seriously you'll take social media in the following 1-2 years. It is better not to start on a platform at all than to launch, post 4 times, and then leave it. This is also the time for the social media manager or team to coordinate with the marketing team or other marketing agencies depending on the size of the company, to ensure that the social media plan is integrated into the brand's overall marketing strategy. To gain a sense of your market, do a competitive analysis. This makes deciding how you want to differentiate easy. If every coffee shop in area has an Instagram account, that doesn't mean you as a new coffee shop owner have to start publishing latte art with filters. This makes deciding how you want to differentiate easy. This will give everyone, including yourself, a sense of your brand's voice. If you report to higher-ups, everyone will be on the same page before things get too complicated. Tip: some of these posts may be useful for seeding your accounts with activity before you go live. Step 2. Write social media guidelines. The next step is to design character sketches and a brand handbook describing your social media posting do's and don'ts. Create guidelines describing your social media posting do's and don'ts. This phase is essential if your brand is or will be managed by a team. Spend some time seeing your brand as a person. You might even want to make a note of who he or she is. What are her interests outside of school? What would he include in his online dating profile? What would your social media account do for fun if it were a person? What would he or she say? What TV shows or books would you recommend? What would he include in his online dating profile? To get you started, here are a few questions. Is your brand referred to as we or I? Are there any words that should not be used? Is there a political slant to your brand? How comfortable are you with offending followers of a different political persuasion? Will you respond to comments? And if so, how frequently? Even those that are negative. How will you respond to bad comments? After all, this is a public forum. What would your social media account do for fun if it were a person? What would he or she say? What TV shows or books would you recommend? The answers may differ from the interests of the brand manager or the CEO, which is to be expected. Unless you're developing a personal brand, in which case the answers to many of these questions will be consistent with you or the person you're representing. The personality of your brand should be a reflection of the personas you want to attract. Once your team understands your brand's who, create a handbook to document your brand's social media rules and behaviors. Some rules will be broken, as with any rules, but having these guidelines will assist create your brand during launch. Write the handbook as if you were explaining things to a new employee who is unfamiliar with your company's brand. What is your name? What do you have to offer? How are you utilizing social media to improve the brand's user experience? Step 3. Create a social media calendar. Next, make a social media calendar for the first month. Even if you don't intend to follow it exactly, rigid social media calendars can be limiting, especially if you want to comment on current events or use memes while they're still popular. However, it's a good idea to set goals for how frequently you'll post and to have some planned shares on hand, especially on busy days. This is also an excellent time to start planning for the next few months to a year. Drafting a tweet 6 months in advance may be pushing it. Speaking to product or production managers about where the company is headed in the next year, on the other hand, can generate ideas for the types of social ads you'll want to launch in the following months. Launching a social media campaign, like other tasks, takes more effort and thought than it appears at first. Future mini launches will go more easily if you start gathering details a few months in advance. Tip: if at all possible, have at least 2 individuals, the content writer and a proofreader, sign off on each post before it is scheduled. Typos are necessary, but they are easy to avoid. Step 4. Double-check details. Make a comprehensive to-do list the day before launch and mark off each item before leaving the workplace. Launch eves are frequently email-heavy days. Check in with this individual, confirm details with that person, and extinguish a few fires. Preparing a checklist and double-checking every element is the best method to keep things straight. Make no assumptions. Re-verify everything with the persons on whom you rely for a successful launch day. Here are a few more details to double-check. The images and bios for social media are the final versions. The posts have been proofed and are ready to be published with images. Watermarks, hashtags, and other branding are used on photos. Key people understand when and what to publish on their personal accounts, and time zones are taken into account. All of the links are correct. The social team has established launch day objectives and key performance indicators, and it is clear how these metrics will be monitored. Everything has been approved. Step 5. Start engaging. If you've planned well, launch day is all about execution and observation. Watch your well-prepared copy go live. Hit refresh till you're on the point of carpal tunnel, and enjoy seeing the brand you made come to life. Today is also the day you begin engaging. Respond to your new fans' queries and comments. This is your first opportunity to showcase the brands. Higher-ups may be anticipating a brand launch post-mortem, so make sure you or your social marketing team track engagement and take screenshots of successes throughout the day. Step 6. You're a social manager now. Stay active and passionate after the launch. Communicate with followers, and create your brand's personality as the firm grows and changes. There are far too many tasks to list for this phase because it may take up the majority of a social manager's time. Instead, now that you're communicating with the public, here are some brand strategy points to consider adding to your handbook. If you get press coverage on the day of the launch, choose parts to share and communicate with the journalists as learn the names of your first few followers and frequent poster. Who are these people? How do they stack up against the folks you expected to interact with your brand? What impact might these disparities have on your strategy? Don't forget to try different things. The original plans for converting fans into buyers may not be as effective as expected. Plan to try new tactics. This will keep the brand fresh and the social manager on the lookout for new ideas. Tweeting into the void can be a strange sensation. Hello, we have arrived. Come buy our widget. However, if you follow the advice and timeline outlined above, you will be sure to get off to a good social start. What do you think? Have you started a social media brand? What strategies worked well? What were some of the obstacles? Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below.